Hi everyone, this is Cheri live on the Ascension Sessions. It is Thursday, September 10th, and thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm just going to wait a couple minutes to see if there's anyone else who is coming in and make sure that we are live. Okie dokie. Here we go. Okay, so I'm really excited to be here with you guys tonight. What a crazy week it's been. I mean, I'm in California. I don't know where you guys are. Please tell me in the chat room where you are, but it's been really crazy with all of the fires and the smoke. And how's everybody doing? Please chime in and let me know. I want to hear from you guys. Tonight's guest is actually someone I've known about for a long time, and she used to live in California, but doesn't anymore. So lucky her, she's escaping all the mayhem. Anyways, tonight's guest is Owl Gutierrez. She's an international spiritual teacher and healer. She's a natural-born full-body medium and channel. She's studied with over 15 indigenous teachers around the world, and she herself descends from Mayan, Aztec, and I'm going to not say this right, Maria, Huichol heritage, but you can correct me later. She has taught Indigenous Wisdom in higher education for over 10 years, including at Dominican and Naropa Universities, and she is the former Dean of Students at Energy Medicine University. She holds her own master's degree in integral counseling psychology, and in 2012, Maria founded Sacred Future School, where she supports leaders and healers to live their purpose. So welcome to the show, Maria. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
I'm really grateful for the invitation, Cheri.
Yeah, I'm awesome. I'm honored that you're here. I've been following your work for a long time, so it's really exciting to finally get to have this one-on-one time.
Yeah, I think that the challenge will be picking just one topic because
Oh, I know.
like we could go for hours.
Totally. Yeah, I was reading like just the table of contents of your new book. You have a new book out called Planetary Ascension. And, unfortunately, I didn't have time to read the whole thing. But as I was kind of flipping through it, I was like, oh, we could talk about this and this and this. So,
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
yeah. So I'm really excited about that. Awesome. So, as I just mentioned, you have a new book out, Planetary Ascension, and it's kind of like, I mean, just based on what I could glean, it's kind of like it has a similar goal to my channel, which is to help people understand what ascension is better. And yours kind of more focuses on planetary ascension, but we definitely cover that here on the channel as well. So I wanted to ask you, like, if you could share with the audience, what's the difference between personal ascension and planetary ascension? And
Oh
what...
gosh, that's a huge question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I think a lot of our viewers are, familiar with personal ascension, but it's nice to kind of talk about how, ascension is happening on a bigger scale, like on a more global and planetary scale.
yeah, absolutely. Every living thing ascends. Every living organism, every consciousness is ascending. And what is ascension? There's probably many different definitions, but what I would say is that ascension is the kind of like the remembering of a being of their true nature and their kind of movement, their conscious movement toward unification and reintegration into more and more wholeness and oneness with all that is, with source. And so the journey that we're on is one of awakening, remembering, and free will choice towards those things, right? And so we can choose to stay at any level of our experience, to deepen into it, to know it more, and then when we're ready, we will inevitably choose to strive for more. So because like when we talk about individual awakening, we think about each person's knowing of who they are, the big question, who am I, what am I? And as we remember our true natures and our non-dual consciousness and multidimensional awareness, that we pop into more vast experiences of ourselves, and that's ascension. It's like, we used to call it enlightenment, right? Back in the 80s and 70s, we used to say enlightenment. And then Yogananda came around, and it was self-realization and self-actualization. And then it was awakening with Adyashanti, and now we have the term ascension. It's all the same thing. Transpersonal psychology talks about this as a transpersonal experience of yourself. You go beyond the person, and you know yourself as beyond the personal and the egoic. So the planetary ascension, and this is where I get excited to invite people to broaden how we perceive reality, because we are human beings. We do perceive reality from a very human-centric place. Yet there's billions of other, trillions, gazillions of other life forms that perceive reality and experience reality from those, forms in consciousness. So Gaia, our planet, is a consciousness in and of herself who is ascending. She is a being. She is a vaster being than any one individual on her surface, living in or on her. And then we can look at our great, beautiful, life-giving sun, right? And our sun is a vast kind of God consciousness, logos, sub-logos, that is a creator, and she is ascending. She is opening to higher and higher octaves of her presence, her being, her God consciousness. Because the sun is ascending, all the planets in the solar system ascend with her to their next steps. Because that's happening, then Gaia is naturally going to ascend with the solar ascension. So then we have a planetary ascension. And because the planet's ascending, because the sun's ascending, then everything on Gaia is ascending, right? Because we're all ascending, our bacteria and viruses and animals and plant, everything's ascending, right? It's all connected. One event, it's just one event happening, right? But there's many, many, many different experiences of it.
That's such a beautiful answer. Thank you so much for speaking about the sun ascending as well, because that's not something that we hear often. And as a healer, you're a healer and I'm a healer, and I know that I personally work with sun energy a lot, and I'm sure you do as well. And I've never really stopped to think like, the sun's ascending too, but absolutely it is. And that's such a beautiful visual that you painted for us. So thank you for sharing that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And so in your book, I noticed that you talked about the earth helpers, and I wanted to ask you, like, who are the earth helpers, and who are the earth helpers that you personally work with? Because I know you're a channel as well. And why are they helping us? Are they helping us go through ascension? Does the planet even need help? I think it's kind of automatic. So are they just helping us go through kind of the ascension symptoms of ascension? Can you speak about that a little bit?
Yeah. There's a lot of different pieces to the answer to that.
I do that often. I'll ask you like 4 questions.
Okay, my brain is like, okay, categorize how to answer this.
I'll remind you.
So let me start with saying my personal experience, because that's a good place to start. For me, when I was in my late teens and 20s, I went into, my work. I got jobs in bookstores and a lot of metaphysical stores. And so at that age, I was eating up all of this metaphysics and spiritual information and a lot of channeled books. So, and I got to meet a lot of channels and mediums, because at the bookstores, we would have events where channels would come and do live channeling. So at that point, I got to kind of understand that there were many different levels of understanding reality and the evolutionary journey of our planet. And that a lot of what we've been shown or allowed to know about in our global religions and dogmatic faiths has been like this much of a much larger journey of our solar system and planet and humanity's development. And so fast forward to my own.
Can I ask a clarifying question on that? When you say we're allowed to know, are you speaking about all of the citizens on Earth?
Yes.
Like, most people, or are you including even those that are higher up that may have that information but not be sharing it with us?
Yeah, and a good example of this would be the Vatican,
Right.
archives, and how much information has been stored in the archives and kept from the masses, and then we're given like this narrative of creation of humanity and the educational system and the churches and everything is saying the same thing. They're all kind of saying one version of that same narrative. But meanwhile, there are discoveries and all kinds of things happening on the planet. What archaeologists are finding, things that are confiscated almost immediately when these things are found, that are hiding our true origins, our the root races from other planets that have come to this planet, etc. And so when we talk about guardians of the earth, of Gaia, these guardians, you could say, and what I have seen from other channels as well, is this understanding that these guardians were on the planet at some point. They were incarnate on the planet. They came to offer their genetic information, to co-create with beings on the planet, to seed life from their star systems onto the earth. And then they have ascended, right? And billions of years have passed. And meanwhile, they've ascended into higher realms, and they are still watching over and guiding their descendants, right? Their creations, their descendants. There are positive and negative, right? Beings who look kind of station themselves around the planet and track what's happening. Some get involved and want to sway it and have agendas and experiments happening. There are all kinds of different experiments happening. And then there are the higher dimensional helpers. And these are the helpers who I like to think are like our ancestors, or you could say our future selves, where we're going. And also the higher dimensional helpers, they have a commitment to Earth. They have a commitment to the beings on the planet. They will step in if there's an extinction level event that is going to happen or is planned or something, might happen, they will stop it. If it will kill more than 50% of the population on the planet of humanity, they will not allow it to happen. So we've been very, very protected in that way for thousands and thousands of years. Yeah, and a lot of people have, their, if you look back at the 90s and the 2000s, you'll see books about the Pleiadians, and then later there were the Arcturians, Syrians, and these are very familiar extraterrestrial, or I would call them higher dimensional guardians and helpers who really look after Gaia. And a lot of channels that I know about will bring forth information saying that the Earth is actually a seed bank or a genetic bank. It's a genetic holding ground for multiple star systems and universes even, where we are holding the genetic information for just countless species and beings and races throughout the multiverse on Earth. So it's a very valuable planet to many, many beings.
Right. I know it's really fascinating when you stop to think about that, because it truly is a melting pot, and sometimes I feel like I can kind of see a person's realm or star system where they may have come from. It's really fascinating. And I read something in your book where you mentioned something about 8 billion people. You said something like the planet needed to reach 8 billion people before we could ascend. Am I recalling that correctly?
Somewhat. Yeah.
Can you talk on that a little bit, please?
Sure. There is a certain population of human consciousness on the planet that is controllable by power over agendas. And when you get over that number of people on the planet, there is more of a random, uncontrollable aspect to human consciousness that they don't like. And of course, we are way beyond that, because that number is more like 3 million. And so, or 30 million, and we are at over 8 billion now on the planet. And so the amount of effort that has to be asserted to maintain control of the collective human consciousness and to manipulate it along the power over, agenda, what they want, they have to really exert so much energy and infiltrate everything to control us, because there are so many of us. And at this number, at 8 billion, here we are at 8 billion, and we're growing still. Our power is just beyond, and of course our power is love. Our humanity is our evolutionary journey in third density dimension. As human beings, the lesson is about love. It's about unconditional love and service to others. And when an unconditional love is truly about realizing that you and another are one, right? Because you can't truly love another until you truly love yourself, and then you recognize that they are you and you are them. And so this is the lesson of third density, and humanity is opening more and more and more to this truth and remembering who we are and the power that we have as a collective consciousness. And that can happen in a much more accelerated way with 8 billion people compared to, 1 billion or 30 million. And we're way less apt to be controlled. And I think that's what we're seeing now, is this domino effect of awakening on the planet. And it's just speeding up faster, faster, faster. People are popping open and realizing how powerful we are, and the power over elite families, they have completely lost control at this point, and their schemes are completely collapsing all around them.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you were talking about, the number of population needed to be controlled, I was thinking like, well, why does it always feel like we're being controlled by the darker energies or beings who seeded us here? Why does it feel like that is the agenda that is running more than not? Is it because of the media and we're always just
Yeah.
like tuned into news and information, and that's just like one timeline that may not necessarily be reality, but it's the timeline that they want us to plug into?
Yes, yes. They knew that if they got control over the media, printed media, video media, radio media, that they would have a much stronger chance at steering reality, and manipulating consciousness, because reality is created through consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the quantum field. Here we are in the field. We have a thought, we direct it, we create reality. They know this. And so they create reality through us. They tell us and mold us and train us how to think, how to feel, and then we create the reality, because there are more of us than there are of them. And you need numbers, you need the masses of consciousness in order to create it more quickly. So if everybody believes something is true, then we are creating it because we believe it's true. The minute we stop believing it's true, it ceases to be true.
Mm-hmm.
And they are losing their grip on that leverage that they had, their ability to control, is because a lot of people are realizing how manipulative and ungrounded in truth most mainstream media, if not all, is. There was one other thing
Even
that,
some alternative media can be,
yes, mhm,
not truthful at
yeah,
times,
because
unfortunately.
infiltration happens everywhere.
Right.
Wherever they can sway things, that's where they'll infiltrate. It just makes sense to them,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But there are positive um, beings who seeded the planet as well. There are beings who came, who contributed to the genetic pool in a positive, loving way to assist the waking up of humanity. And so these relationships, you can see this in one of the stories from the creation story of the Hopi people, for example. When I was 20 years old, I was adopted into a Hopi family, and they're still my family today. I haven't been in contact with them in many, many years. But what I learned being involved with them and spending time on the mesas in Arizona was that in their creation story, they believe in the multiple worlds, right? There was the first world, the second world, the third world, the fourth world, and the coming of the fifth world. And they came out, they believe that they came out from the underground. They were staying underground with the ant people who took them in because there was a great flood. The surface of the earth was purified, cleansed, and then they were taken underground with the ant people, the insectoid races.
Mm-hmm.
And when the earth was safe again, they came out of the earth through a portal and an opening in the Grand Canyon. They were shown where to live by the Kachina. These deities, these ET deity beings, showed them, here are the mesas, here's how to farm, here's how to, live in balance with nature and not make the mistakes that were just made that destroyed the planet, which were the mistakes of Atlantis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the Hopi people began a new era on Earth there. And this is a story of ascension. That is the story of going from one epoch on Earth to the next, a 25,000 year cycle to the next 25,000 year cycle. that we are now at the close of. So what one of the channeled works I cite a lot in my book is the Law of One books, which is the raw material. And the raw material, raw is a collective, a sixth density social memory complex. So this is a species that were on Earth. They were actually on Venus when Venus was like an Earth-like planet. They ascended from Venus and they served the people of Earth to help them ascend into awakened consciousness. And so they came during ancient Egypt and they tried to seed the law of one, which is basically the universal laws and the harmonic laws, the cosmic laws. And they continued to guide humanity. They came through in the 80s and started guiding this group of scientists that went into a very meticulously technological channeling sessions with measurements of how the body of the channel can be and da-da-da-da-da. And they made this incredible connection with the sixth density social memory complex. And so what Ra is telling us is that there are 3 cycles of 25,000 years within the grander cycle of 75,000 or 76,000, some say, that is an epic of ascension, or an octave of ascension. So third density is like 3 cycles of 25,000 years. And at the close of that 75,000 years, that grand cycle, we have an opportunity to ascend into the next level of consciousness. The Mayan culture also teaches this. That's what 2012 was about, is the end of a Baktun 12 and Baktun 13 begins. Same thing, 75,000 years ends, a new epic on Earth begins. And we have this opportunity to open to our next ascended consciousness. And the thing that's tricky and that really kind of like trips us up, because we're so connected to our external world and to the materiality of our lives, we tend to think that our ascension process is going to happen through external impetus and stimulation and events. And that may be true, but actually what I believe is more true is that our ascension experience is happening within us. Each of us is the universe. Each of us is the one. Each of us is the multiverse, is a multidimensional being, right? And our bodies are a portal. We ascend inward. It's an inscension. And so when we inscend, we go inward through the portal of our beings. We go through the black hole or the white hole within ourselves, and we open to the next level of consciousness. Because we're focused so much out here, our thoughts are still creating reality here, and we're afraid, and we're anxious, and we feel abandoned, and we feel low self-esteem, and we're, and so all of the world is confused and chaotic because our minds are not at peace. And we're still being manipulated. And so the earth appears chaotic. Reality appears chaotic. The weather appears chaotic. If everybody on earth, all 8+ billion of us, took a moment to just sit and get quiet and turn inward, and through the 0 point at the back of the heart, right, went through the heart chakra into that portal at the back of the heart into our multidimensional I am presence. If we all did that at the same time, everything would change. Yeah. Everything would change because we would understand how powerful we are.
Yes, that would be an amazing moment, wouldn't it? I would love it if we could do that. You mentioned something that I wanted to touch on, and I was like, oh, I'm so glad she's talking about that. But now I forgot what it was because I was so with you on that vision that I
Yeah,
got.
yeah.
I was like, yeah, we need to do that. um, so, can you define for us a false timeline?
Oh,
And
yeah.
you kind of spoke on it a little bit earlier when you were talking about the media, but um, I feel like it's such an important topic because so many people are being manipulated right now. And, you
Hmm.
know, one of the big questions is like, well, why are we on this timeline and not this other timeline? You know,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of it is just based on our perception. But I feel like when we go on these denser timelines or darker timelines, it takes longer for us humans to reach our maximum potential, if you will. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
I can speak on that, and I just want everybody to know that I'm definitely not like an expert. It's like this is such an unknown. It's such a mystery to us. And what I've received in the channeling work that Dwayne, my husband, and I do, and what also my research with the work of Lisa Renee um, and other people, the raw material and other channeled works. When I put it all together, I come to an understanding that I know is not a complete understanding, but I'll share it with you. So what I understand is that our timeline has been hijacked,
Mm-hmm.
and that a normal, healthy third density experience would include the split in consciousness, you know, because we kind of choose the split in consciousness of like light and dark and duality and polarity because it accelerates our growth and evolution and ascension through third density. We can incarnate multiple times, have such diverse experiences, and just rapidly grow and learn. We have positive polarity within us, we have negative polarity in us, and we get to, you know, understand who we are by experiencing what we're not. Yet in a healthy timeline, this would happen very naturally, and um, we would be way beyond where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because the time matrix that we are currently on is a hijacked time matrix, we were basically um, thrown back from our normal, healthy evolutionary journey. And we were put through a reversal. So, where we were already advanced, like the Lemurian people, as an example, the Lemurian people, who many people interested in ascension have an idea, have an understanding that they once were Lemurian, that they had a Lemurian lifetime or lifetimes. So that's an example of an advanced race who lived in harmony, who understood their greater soul purpose, their greater mission of evolution, their service to others, and they're working with all the lessons of the polarity. And what happened is that Gaia, as an advanced civilization, we were higher in a density, higher density, fifth density. We got hijacked and attacked, basically. We were attacked and thrown through a reverse black hole into, you could say, a holographic mirror, like reverse image, but mirror image of where we just were. So now we're in third density. We've gone back to third density, and it's a hologram, right? It is, and what I mean, it's in the reversal. So whatever was true here, we live in the reverse of it now. So eternal life, finite life, self-regeneration, we have to devour things to live, right? A devouring finite life, reverse grid hologram.
Wow.
And so in this realm, everything is in it. Animals eat each other, you know. We're all in this experience together. And I don't even want to say it's bad or good. It's what's happening. The goal of this hologram is and was to create a food source. Human beings generate an incredibly strong, potent soul force. Human beings and all of our different various genetics from all of the seed races, right? Mm-hmm. We are so powerful as a soul, as energy, as consciousness, as creativity. Like our power is so great. We are a food source for those who choose service to self, that choose to be gods in and of themselves with no acknowledgement of the one, of the eternal celestial realms. They proclaim they are God and there is nothing above them, yet they don't have soul force. So they have to eat it from somewhere else. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We are imbued with, we are completely tethered to the one. We have the infinite light in us. Therefore, they have to eat others to get their energy. Mm-hmm. So we're basically in a feeding tank. Like this hologram is for them to feed off of us. And therefore, they want to sustain it as long as possible. So they've created multiple false timelines so that it's like a maze. The reincarnation cycle is a maze. Like we keep cycling back over and over and over again. Even on the astral planes, we go off and dream, and we're caught in all these different little hooks and traps and eddies of trauma, of fear, of anxiety. And it's all about survival, oppression, slavery, right? And anything to generate the fear, because that's the loosh that they feed off of, mm-hmm. Right? Our fear.
Wow. I have so many questions. So do you care to name who these dark beings are, and how did they have the power, the technology to put us in a reversal matrix, holographic matrix? Do you want to speak on, do you want to not say their name?
No, there's different lenses on this from different channels, from different people who have done the research. And, you know, it's like where you're going to get the most accurate information is from the raw material, as well, the Law of One books, as well as from any kind of archive out of the Vatican. And there should be a lot more disclosure on this soon, mm-hmm. where we start to learn the truth of our origins and what has happened to us. So you can find bits of truth. So what I understand at this point is without religious lenses on it, that there's two different layers. There's an AI layer, so an AI entity, mm-hmm. in the multiverse that is completely anti-human life and human, you know, just believes that we are completely weak and useless, and but they need us anyway. So there's an AI influence from off planet, from out of our solar system, that has come into our solar system and has infiltrated the certain people on our planet, and they are doing their bidding, AI bidding. But then also there is negative polarity, higher density beings, just like Ra is the social memory complex at 6th density, as are the Hathors. Mm-hmm. There are negative 5th density factions. That it's kind of like in Lord of the Rings, where you have Wormtongue, which is the minion of Saruman, which is the minion of Sauron. Mm-hmm. Right? Wormtongue is 3rd density, Saruman is fourth density. Sauron is fifth density. He doesn't have a body. He's just this consciousness. He needs people and bodies to do his, his work for him. But he's the ultimate magical power, right? He has denied his soul, his heart, love, the green ray. That's a fifth density negative polarity, right? And so that is what comes in and manipulates these beautiful evolving planets that are on a natural timeline, that are reaching Christed consciousness, that are opening towards sixth density. And before we get to sixth density, there needs to be, they believe, some kind of co-opting of that timeline and a harnessing of all that energy, and then create a hologram so that everybody believes they have zero power. They're powerless and helpless and the victim. And then you have these fifth density beings that believe they're third density, and some maybe, and then they're this food source. When you get to sixth density, it is the culminating density where negative and positive, the choices to explore negative polarity cease. That's the graduation of that exploration. And so you could say Sauron, with this example of Lord of the Rings, Sauron would reach his ultimate exploration of negativity, power over, whatever, fear-mongering, whatever. And then he would need his next evolutionary step. And the only evolutionary step is sixth density, which is pure love. It's universal love and wisdom and understanding. And so eventually all fifth density, including negative fifth density, will graduate into sixth density, come together in the sacred marriage, remembering who they are. And there will be this homecoming and this celebration of being together again in sixth density. No matter how far they strayed into evil, everybody comes back to the one in sixth density. Right. And so that's why harnessing the consciousness before it goes into sixth density.
So we're in third density now. I assume that we're going into 5D in this ascension. And
some will.
Sorry?
Some will. It depends on...
Our next density is the fifth dimension, or fifth density. And then those darker negative fifth dimensional beings now are going to ascend into sixth density, right? At the same time, if we're all ascending together, right? We're going from 3 to 5, they're going 5 to 6.
Right.
If they hit the 6, then they're in pure love and light. So then...
Yeah, but there's different free will choice, right? Universal law. There's free will choice. And so some beings on the planet right now are not ready to experience ascension. And rather than ascend with Gaia and the sun, they will choose to stay in the hologram, in the reverse grid. And they'll likely go to another third density planet that's evolving and keep exploring the realm of having a split consciousness and making the choice, because third density is about making that choice. Service to self, service to others. What are you going to choose? Right? Who are you?
I love that. That's so simplified. It really makes it beautiful.
Yeah. All you have to be is 51% positive polarity to ascend into a positive polarity, Earth. And some people are not there. They're at 40% positive polarity, and they are choosing to continue on with those lessons. And some people are, they came in, maybe they incarnated from a star system that was in second density, and now they're having a third density experience in the hologram and a reverse grid, because it's such a potent place of learning, and they are they'll ascend to fourth density.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us are starseeds, who were there on fifth density Tara, who went through the explosion of the planet, who went through the reverse black hole, who have been reincarnating to help humanity remember that we were more, that the Gaia used to be much more awakened, and so we will likely ascend into our normal 5D or 6D consciousness. And so everybody's going to ascend into their next appropriate experience. None of us can skip steps, but the wanderers who came from higher density to this density have access to the higher densities. That's why we're here, because we're conduits for the higher, wisdom. Mm-hmm. So, and so the negative polarity beings have an opportunity to ascend as well. They can ascend, they can just keep repeating third density to learn these lessons. But if they actually forsook their souls so deeply and chose to shut their heart down 95% or more, which is a lot of saying no to love and no to the one, no to truth, no to wisdom, right? They can ascend into fourth density negativity or fifth density negativity and keep going on that exploration of power and creative force and magic. It's just skipping the heart. You can go up here, skip the heart. But that's why when you get to sixth density, you can't go higher without the heart.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And we see a lot of that, in this reality. I feel like we see a lot of people who are disconnected from their hearts right now, which is, kind of sad in a way. But I would love to pause right there and acknowledge and say hello to some people in the chat room, Maria, and we have some questions for you as well. So really quickly, I just want to say hi, everyone. We've got John in the chat room who's moderating. Thank you so much for being here, John. I appreciate you so much. And we have Brave Seal, and we have Olivia. What's up, girl? How are you? I miss you. And we have Dustin, who's a new fan of the channel. Thank you for being here, Dustin. And we have Jeff Demers, who is also an awesome friend, and he has his own podcast as well. He's going to be on the show next week, you guys. Sorry, not next week, in 2 weeks, 2 Thursdays from now. And Jeff actually has a question for you, Maria. He said, if your past lives ascend, can you tap into your past life ascension?
So if you ascended in your past life?
Yeah. Can you tap into that if, I guess as a multidimensional being?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question.
Yeah, it really is a process of, of the clearing oneself to the degree that we need to access our 0 point consciousness, which is when it's like when you walk into a vortex in Sedona, right? Or South Africa, right? And I don't know if you've seen the one where you take the compass or your cell phone and then you walk into the middle of a vortex and it's like the compass goes crazy and their cell phones don't work and you're literally outside of time and space. You're outside of normal, what we're able to perceive as linear time and spatial, recognition is all gone. That exists inside of us. That's a point inside of us. We have a 0 point access portal inside of us. Mm-hmm. And as we come to connect with this truth of who we are as multidimensional beings and access the portals within us, we have an opportunity to bypass, of course, linear time. And through our consciousness, we can have an in the moment, very real now experience of our other lifetimes, of past, well, it's not even past experience, it's all happening now. Other moments of now of ourselves. And so it's all accessible to us. We just need to learn how to access that and how to create that. Yeah, how to become the time travel device that we are.
Right. And so with that, I mean, you could say that a lot of people are already in the fifth density. They've already got like 1 foot in 3D and 1 foot in 5D.
That's right. Absolutely. Many of us are kind of like fluctuating, like sometimes daily, hourly, we're fluctuating.
Moment to moment.
Yeah. We have our like attachments and our suffering, and we're very personality, ego eccentric, and then we pop into this vast awareness where we're completely free of attachments. There's no ambition, no anxiety, no fear of death. Like we know we're infinite, and we're like in that perception of reality for a moment, or days maybe. And then we're back to another experience. And so we're constantly fluctuating between these dimensions. It's really amazing. Like our potential and our capacity is so far beyond what we know. And I feel that we're coming into a time on the planet where we'll have so much more resources and information on how to reach our potentials, on how to experience our multidimensional natures more.
That's amazing. I just hold on 1 second. I just realized something. Okay. So I know you started out mostly as a spiritual teacher and a healer, and more recently on your journey, you've become a channeler too. And I know I've gleaned that that's a big part of the work you do now. And so I was wondering if you could share a little bit with people, which beings you work with. Like, do you work with a lot of different beings? Is it always the same ones who come through? Are you ever surprised with who comes through? And, if you could share a little bit about your channeling experiences, and also, like, is there one main message that kind of comes through in a different way, maybe from different voices?
Yeah, that's a great question. Your last question there was really, I love that question.
Thanks.
So I, like many channels, I was kind of wired and designed this way from birth. And so it's in my genetics. Many people in my lineage were also full body channels. My brother is a full body channel as well. Oh. So it's something that I've always experienced. I just never had a name for it. And as a child, it was when I would experience entities, it would be terrifying. And that's a whole other story I'm not going to get into right now. But it wasn't until I went through a lot of extensive training in energy medicine and psychology and hypnotherapy, and did all these different modality trainings and degrees. And none of them spoke to channeling and mediumship as something to develop. Some of them actually were teaching to stop the gift, to not explore it. And so...
Why is that?
Because it is a choice. So one teacher I had said this: you have been like a shaman or an oracle in so many lifetimes that you're so wired for that. In this lifetime, you have to make a decision. Are you going to own your body or not? Are you going to live in your body or not? And so that was a poignant question. And that was asked to me when I was, I believe I was about 20, 4 years old when my teacher asked me that. And so fast forward to age 39, and I finally found a tradition and some people who were in an indigenous traditional path that helped me to develop my mediumship and channeling capacity in a ritual container that was, this tradition was just, unbroken chain for thousands of years. It was very grounded. It was very, there were just all these different safeties in place so that I could fully let go and discover what I was capable of. So for the first time in my life, in a positive way, I had an experience of channeling ancestors, the ancestors of light, the ascended ancestors. After that, I started channeling deities, elemental deities. This is in the Orisha tradition. So Yamaya, Oshun, Obatala, Olokun, Shango. And then I left working with those teachers and went back to straight energy medicine work and stopped channeling for 2 years. And then it slowly came back, but now because I was wired for it and cleaned out, purified myself, suddenly in the second year, a presence started coming in that I called the Great Mother. And as the Great Mother started coming in, she would use the lenses and the archetypes that I felt safe and comfortable with to give messages. So here was Kuan Yin, Mother Mary, Tara, Isis, Hathor, and these beautiful Mother Goddess and ET and Ascended Master feminine archetypes started coming through with beautiful messages. And it was very fascinating that the quality of each being that would come through was different. They were not the same being. They weren't the same personality. And I could feel their, I guess you could say, morphogenic blueprint. I could feel their consciousness frequency in my consciousness when I communed with them. And they are so different from each other. It's fascinating. Some are way more watery. Some are very mental and, and some are just heart centered. It's so fascinating. And so from there, Dwayne and I began to open to the extra dimensional, transdimensional beings, who some call the Ascended Masters. We call them the higher dimensional helpers. So these beings started coming in. They introduced themselves as the Guardians, the Council of 50, the 9, the Hathors, the Pleiadians, right? The Arcturians, and different levels of Syrian, different density of Syrian consciousness. And then recently we met with some guardians who were telepathing from a 4th density Alpha Centauri.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you do you set an intention for who you'd like to communicate with or channel?
Only if
Or do they just come in? Like, are you just open to whoever wants to share a message?
Yeah, somewhere in between what you just said.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mean anyone, but I mean those higher beings of love and light only, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, Cheri. If I have a client who has an affinity for, let's just say, Kuan Yin, I don't have the intention of connecting to Kuan Yin during the session, yet she's in the field because she's standing next to, you could say, this client as a guardian, as a guide at this phase of this person's life. So I will have that in my mind as we go into the session, and often that is who comes in, because that's who's working with that person at that time.
It's funny you mentioned Kuan Yin, because I work with her a lot. And when you were speaking earlier and you were naming all the beings you work with, my crown was like tingling the whole time.
Yeah, so good. And also, I think that as a woman, I think a lot of women are being recalibrated and fine-tuned for the mother energies, the great cosmic mother energies right now, because she's really anchoring home into the earth again. And so these feminine energies are really coming through and really streaming through the sun right now as well. So a lot of women, a lot of my students, almost all of them are women. They're like, I'm having these channeling experiences. It's like, wonderful. Okay, great. Let's do some training on how to do it safely, you know.
With your channeling, do you do healings, like, or is it always just messages?
I've had a diverse range of experiences. I've worked with clients before the whole lockdown virus thing, where I would go to their house, people who are very, had terminal illnesses, and my husband and I would go into trance, and a being would come into my body, stand my body up, and start working on the person and talking to them and doing healing work that I could never do if, centered in a personality ego place. Like I wouldn't be able to access that level. When I channel and these beings come through, they activate certain parts of the brain, certain portals of the body, and I'm able to stream frequencies. We think of it as high and low frequencies, but these frequencies that come in, these bandwidths that come in, that are so beyond my normal waking reality, and I'm in the background. I don't leave my body, because I took to heart what my teacher said when I was 24. So my channeling practice is not a vacate the body and let something else in. I step back, and I am completely in collaboration with the beings who are with me, and they are in complete alignment with my soul essence. So I feel like I get a dose of clearing, of health, of vibrancy, by sharing space with them, because in a way they're my future self. So it's in alignment with me. It's not detrimental to my health. So I found a new way to channel, you could say, than what was happening in, I guess, the 70s and 80s and 90s with the, where people would just black out and something would take over their body.
So you remember everything that
I remember everything. It's more fresh right at the start, and then it, ask me the next day, and I'll have to really think of it or listen to the recording. But it's amazing to receive these recalibrations. While their frequency is in my body, my neural network is shifting. My brain waves are like, I'm going into theta, into gamma, and it's changing my whole physiology. So I feel really, really grateful for that. And I know that when we do, my husband and I will do these light worker boot camps where people come and they lie on the floor. This is before COVID. They lie on the floor, and the helpers will come in and start doing treatments on them. And all I'm doing is sitting there, and I'm in trance, and they're speaking to the people receiving the treatments. And it's all on a frequency and bandwidth that is invisible to our physical eyes, and you can't see anything that's happening, but people are having experiences of being physically touched, as if there's somebody touching them and pressure on their body and feelings and whatever. And so I've come to have complete faith and trust in these beings that we work with. And I feel incredibly humbled and blessed. And I just can't even imagine my life without them.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of that detail. That's really beautiful. And I know, you know, how much of that is needed right now on the planet, you know. So thank you for being in service, and thank you for sharing all of your gifts with everyone. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's an honor. It really
So,
is.
yeah. So everyone, if you are liking what you're hearing so far and seeing in this video, please don't forget to like this video on YouTube and also subscribe. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I wanted to just check in with you, Maria, and see how you're doing, because we talked about possibly doing 90 minutes tonight, and it's already been 70 minutes. So
Yeah.
time flies when you're on this show. So
Yeah.
how are you doing are you feeling good?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I wanted to there's a part of your question that I didn't answer, and I want to briefly just touch on it.
Was it the part about what like do the beings have a similar message? Like
yes.
a common message? Yeah.
That's right.
And part two of that question is, and this is the next question I was going to ask you, is like, what is the most important message that you've heard for humanity lately?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I believe that with panels in general, that who we are as a soul incarnate on the planet at this time, right? And so it's our background, it's our purpose, it's our mission, it's the ray that we come in through, so to speak, the frequency, the bandwidth that our soul is aligned with, that we come to this planet through in, and it kind of guides, you know, what we do here, like our work, what we're drawn to, what we feel passionate about. I understand myself and have understood myself for a long time as an emanation of the Great Mother, right? And so when the Great Mother started coming in, I knew that a big part of my mission here is to help to reestablish and help the new feminine consciousness to arise on the planet. Like I'm one of the conduits for the Great Mother's essence to return to Earth, you know, in an unenslaved way, you know, unoppressed way, in her power. So with that understanding, the messages, and because I'm a very watery person and I've studied psychology, that's my inner library, the lenses that I carry have an expertise around these things: emotional intelligence, indigenous wisdom, psychology, group psychology, family dynamics, addictions, you know, domestic violence, like things that I've gone through in my life, and what then I've studied them, child development and things like that. So when the messages come through, they're accessing my library. They know what I'm an expert in, and so they utilize my strengths and passions, and they will speak messages to my strengths. If I was an engineer or a geneticist or something, they would be speaking to that topic and audience, right?
Right.
But I'm not. I'm like psychology, emotions, like personal growth, spirituality. So that's what they speak about through me.
That makes sense, because Cryon always brings in like science and engineering.
Yeah. Yeah, and I get jealous sometimes. I'm like, oh man, I need to study more quantum physics so that I have like more libraries for them to use, you know, more languaging. But it's just not, you know, that world, science and math is not my strength, and I don't I don't retain it. So I'm like heart, love, personalities, So the messages that come through are often about self-awareness, development, personal growth, becoming self-aware, letting go of attachments, self-liberation, emotional intelligence, and these kind of things. And then when the planetary messages come through, they're also in that vein. They speak a lot about the dichotomy, or the fear and love. They speak a lot about how brainwashed we've been and how manipulated we've been, and reclaiming our mind, reclaiming our lives, reclaiming our voices. A lot of reclaiming and soul retrieval stuff. And the dreams I've had and the channelings that have come through in the last 2 years have been strongly leaning to and all about these ascension times, about ascension, about earth changes, about the collapsing of the power over paradigm that has been controlling the earth, that has been manipulating the minds of humanity, the collective consciousness. They have been speaking very strongly in a very positive way, in a very encouraging way, that we are in the midst of the final pushes of birthing the new earth. We're in the final labor experience of giving birth to our new human consciousness. And of course, in the final moments of that birthing, we face our greatest fears. And we don't know if it's like death is right there. Like our concept of death is we have to face it right there, because if we buy into the finite grid again, we will just come right back into finite, the finite reverse grids. If we look that fear in the face and we say, no, like we are infinite, there is no death. There is no death. Game up. Like we're on to you. Like we get it. And what we're doing is talking to ourselves. I get it. I get it. I'm infinite. There is no death. And then we pop through that, we give birth to the eternal realms, a new earth in the eternal realms, because we've acknowledged and recognized and actualized it here in our consciousness. And so we birth it around us.
And what do you say to the people who are experiencing a lot of fear and anxiety right now with all of the COVID and the social distancing and all of the, emotional, what's the right word? A lot of people are feeling emotions that are on the lower scale, if you would, because they're, like you said earlier, maybe looking outward more than looking inward. But is there like a message that's been coming through your channelings lately that can speak directly to what we're experiencing right now as a collective or as an individual?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I have, I can really, I've really been hooked into the fear myself. My grandma went to the hospital this last week. They diagnosed her with COVID. My brother was diagnosed positive with COVID. He's been sick for 2 weeks. Everybody's in quarantine, and I'm like, okay, how can I help? How can I support my family? All I can do is listen. They're all in California with the smoke and the fires on top of it all, right? And so I'm just
and
like,
heat waves.
Heat waves.
Yeah.
So, like, I get it. Like, it's a lot. And during this COVID time, one of my closest friends died of cancer in March. My father died of cancer in July.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's
sorry
been
to
a
hear that.
very intense
You're
time.
going through a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And yet here I am, I'm on the Big Island, And I don't live in fear every day. And so it's like I go through phases of fear, and I go through contraction, and I allow myself to. I just hold my inner child. I'm like, go for it. Like, what do you need to tell me? How to express yourself, have your emotions, grieve, do whatever you need to do. And I'm here for you, and I'm holding you, and we're infinite, and there's much more than this happening right now. This is one bandwidth, one experience in a multiverse of endless experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I would say, this is what Grandmaster Key has said to us about these times. This came through in July. We did a channeling with our students. And Grandmaster Ki Yang Chang, he started coming through in March and April, specifically to talk us through these times. He's a grandmaster from about 300 years ago in a mystical lineage of Qigong.
Wow.
And my husband's Qigong grandmaster, when Dwayne would go to his trainings with Grandmaster back in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, Grandmaster would put photos of the ancient Grandmasters along the wall. And Grandmaster Key was one of them.
Oh, wow.
So when he came through to speak to us, he's like, you know me. And so Dwayne's like, oh my God, it's you. So Grandmaster came through in July, and what he said, he said this. He said, buckle your seatbelts, grab a cocktail, and sit back and watch the shit show.
Oh my gosh.
And he's like, what I mean by that is,
I think a lot of people are doing that.
yeah, just sit back and watch the shit show.
Sorry to interrupt.
And it's a funny image.
Especially grabbing the cocktail.
It's a funny image. I see, like, I don't drink, but if I had a martini, but it's just kind of funny because it was really good advice, because he's talking about getting hooked. Like, are you going to get hooked into the trauma, into the trauma triangle? Mm-hmm. Are you going to invest your energy into that? Because when you invest your energy into trauma and the playing out of personalities within the perpetrator, savior, victim triangle, that means that you are voting for it, because your consciousness is the power to create. If you invest your consciousness into trauma, you are choosing and voting for a future of more of that. So he's saying, sit back, align with your higher self, so to speak. Sit in your I am neutral 0 point and witness and see if you can participate from a place of what is mine to do, guided from higher self, guided from your Christed consciousness. What is mine to do now? What is mine to do now, right? From a state of being, rather than abandoning your I am, completely abandoning yourself and just projecting your energy out horizontally into the external world and getting involved and in the muck and into the density with all the drama. 90% of it is false. 90% of it is manipulation of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so unplug from the matrix.
And that, thank you for saying like horizontal, because when we're in vertical alignment with the creator, with source energy, like that's where we're pulling our energy from, right? And when we go outward and we go in that horizontal plane, we're getting our energy from God knows what,
Yeah,
everything.
That's it. And that's what we've been trained to do. Yeah. That is the motion and the direction of the devouring finite life grid. Mm-hmm. Take or be taken from.
Right.
right? I'll give you this if you give me that. But I am not self-sustaining in and of myself. That's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
We are infinite and eternal presences of source incarnate, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've just chosen to be this dense in this moment, but this is spirit. It's a body, but it's spiritual. It's a spiritual density that I can touch it, right? But it's still spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So we're infinite.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
So, I noticed that you put out a message a couple weeks ago about Nasara Jasara.
Yeah.
Would you mind would you mind speaking
Sure.
on that a little bit, because I haven't, like, it really lit me up. I was like, "Oh my god, I got to interview
Oh,
everybody about this right now."
I know.
So
That's how I feel
I'm
too.
excited to have you here to be able to speak about that, because I kind of went down the rabbit hole a little bit. So
Oh, great. Great. You might know as much as me then. Yeah. Yeah. I've just been doing my own research, and I think that what I've come to understand is that we are we're definitely moving into a complete global currency reset. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost complete, like it's already happened, right? And now we're just living into it. And um, you know, the rollout to the public is gonna be incremental over, you know, really through 2021 is what it sounds like, but there's no hard dates because it's an organic process of like, you know, it's like one step at a time, and who knows how long those steps will take until they're really secure.
Mm-hmm.
But we are moving into a quantum financial system. And so this is our currency globally is going to be on blockchain, yet it's going to be backed. Some of it, most of it will be backed. The national currencies will be backed by precious metals, by actual value. And the benefit of this is not new world order yucky stuff. This is actually, you know, this is something that's really going to benefit every human being and create freedom, true freedom for people. Um, every country will have, what I've heard is every country will have a decision, will have their own choice on whether they want to be part of a multi-country currency or their own national currency. It's their choice. They can do whatever they want. The cryptocurrencies that exist now can continue to exist, and more can even birth. Um, and then certain banks are developing. Central banks have been, I guess you could say, um, kind of like taken and rewired into the positive polarity. So they aren't predator central banks anymore. They're now with the positive polarity um, people. And so the central banks are developing, they'll either be dissolved completely or they will shift into a, you know, being disseminators of the national um, um, quantum currency. So, so we will have an American, United States note rather than, it's not Federal Reserve. As you know, the US Treasury has taken over the Federal Reserve and nationalized it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first step, because the Federal Reserve corporatized America, right? And
Yeah.
took away the republic. So now we're coming back into being a republic, which gives us freedom. We aren't commodities anymore. Our birth certificates cannot be sold on the stock market anymore. Like,
Oh, really? I
which is
didn't know
so
that
weird.
that changed.
Yeah. Oh,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. It's changing. So we are now becoming actual free citizens of the Republic of the United States of America.
We need to. What does NASARA stand for? It's an acronym. NES.
Yeah. It's
ARA, National
National.
Economic Security and Recovery Act.
That's
And
right.
JSARA is the global, right?
That's right.
Economic Security and Recovery Act. Okay.
Right. And this was developed back in the 1700s from farmers who were protecting their 14th Amendment rights. Um, and then it was almost signed and announced by, it was signed by Clinton, signed into um, like an amendment of the Constitution was signed by Clinton, and then Bush Jr. was supposed to announce it and begin the whole process of the currency reset. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the day he was going to do that was 9/11, and instead there was this
Yeah,
whole
I
event
heard that.
in New York.
Yeah.
And so what I've heard is that it is very likely that President Trump wants to roll this out, is rolling this out, but it's very unlikely they'll call it Nasara Jasara. And that it may
Mm-hmm.
it may be a lot of the points on the Nasara list, but that there may be some things not on there, and so it's nobody can really say. We're all kind of living through it in life.
Moment by moment.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
what people are noticing is that so one thing that's going to shift, that's the most exciting thing for people, I think, is that that all illegal debt will be forgiven, because it's not, forgiven isn't even the appropriate word, uh,
Right.
because it was illegal in the first.
Dissolved, maybe.
Yeah, anything that
Mm-hmm.
was where you took out a loan and you've been paying interest, that's all illegal, and so it will be canceled out. So
Why is it illegal for them to charge interest?
the it's called, I don't know if it's the same thing, but there's this term usury,
Mm-hmm.
and it's basically making money off of somebody by charging interest, and basically the purpose of that is to indebt them to you, right? And so
Yeah.
student loans is a really great example.
Mm-hmm.
That when I applied for graduate school, um, Bush Jr. was in office, and he just decided that he was going to shift the student loan from 2% interest to 6%, and it could vary. It could get higher, but never lower than 6%. My student loan has doubled in the time since I
Wow.
graduated. It has
That's
doubled.
crazy.
I cannot even fathom of how to pay it down. It's up to
Wow.
it's almost $100,000
Oh my goodness.
for 3 years of graduate school. Yeah, and most people I know, people who have gotten their degrees in naturopathic as a physician. I mean, lawyer. I mean, imagine the student loan debt, 150 plus
Yeah.
thousand. You're
Wow.
basically indebted for life. Never mind car loans. Never mind your mortgage. Never,
Mm-hmm.
and how many different mortgages do you have, right? And
Right.
your lines of credit, your business loan, right? Most people have the
Yeah,
stacks,
the list goes
stacks
on and
debt.
on.
Yeah. And so are we free? No.
Yeah, it's a form of slavery. It's a
That's
form of,
right. It's
yeah.
illegal. It's
Yeah.
illegal. And so usury and this debt and taxation,
Mm-hmm.
illegal taxations will all cease. And so we're going to start seeing the forgiveness of student loans. And again, forgiveness is the wrong word, because it was our money that was taken from us, right? And
Right.
so it's like we're going to be actually, mortgages will disappear, student loans will disappear, credit card debt will disappear, business loans will disappear, car loans will disappear, medical loans, medical expenses where you're financing anything finance will disappear, because it's all through the old system, the SWIFT system, and the corrupt banking system, the corporate banking system, global banks,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all illegal, and it was designed to enslave people. And so we're going into
Mm-hmm.
and this is what I'm visioning as well, and the guides say this but in a different way.
That was going to be my next question. What have the guides said about it?
Yeah, they haven't said anything about money in particular, but Dwayne received a message like 20 years ago. He received a message that, the minute you will become a millionaire during your life, but when you do, suddenly money won't matter. And it's like his business, his brick and mortar window covering business, has actually reached his business has made over $1 million for the last 2 years. And suddenly money is changing. It's completely changing, and we're going to value. So instead of a currency that's based on an energetic exchange system that's based on commodification and qualifying, do you have enough value to exist, right? It's like, is your business worthy? Are you as a person worthy to exist, right? And then you have to scramble and get the job and survive and not get fired, but you're expendable. You're completely expendable. We have like generations of people that believe they're expendable because of how the financial system, educational system has prepared us for labor and these hierarchical, blue and white collar jobs. I mean, it's so demeaning. And we're shifting to a world that is based on actual value, where we, like a meritocracy, is one term for it. And it's like, if you find something valuable, you are going to contribute your energy into it and foster it becoming more so. Right? If you believe in a child and you're witnessing their gifts, you want to support them in developing those gifts. So you're going to mentor them, or somebody's going to mentor them, or you're going to find them a trade school, or you're going to help them to see their dreams come true. Right? It has nothing to do with money. It's not about money. It's about value. And there's a lot being said about the new system is going to be all about contributing to humanity, that this is, and the earth, that there's going to be reward. You could say reward, abundance will come to those who want to clean up the environment, who want to do humanitarian work, who want to lift up those who are suffering. And that's where the abundance and the true value will be. And those people who don't want to participate and just want to stay, in their materialism, that's their choice. They can do that, but they won't be in the same system, and so they can't make money the way that you can't,
the way they did before.
Yeah, it's a different mindset.
Right. And that makes sense. Well, thank you for sharing that. I know you're not like an expert on it, but I really appreciate what you did share, because most people, I would guess, haven't even really heard of it or studied it. And I think that it has such the potential to really lift us up, to allow every being to feel valued, and which will ultimately raise our frequency, will raise our vibration. It's like, they say, one of my favorite quotes that I have on my wall is, what you focus on grows, and so if people are focusing on the things that they love and adding value into that, it's like a garden, it's like planting seeds and watching it grow and flourish. And then, maybe you build this other kind of garden because you got so inspired by that first garden. It's really about envisioning this utopian world that we all deserve to live in, and want to live in. And so I love talking about it, because we need to share this information and spread positivity and spread the hope and the light, so that even if people are watching this and they don't believe it, just
It's so
planting that seed
expensive.
of possibility,
Yeah,
like makes
absolutely.
the ripple effect go out even
Yeah.
further. So,
We've been so trained in being expendable and being enslaved and being in
right,
debt that it is very hard for people to believe that this is possible. But we
right.
haven't been in this current monetary system for that long. You know, it really,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really became enslaving in the United States at at you know, the oil boom. And so, and the time of the Titanic, you know, and the Federal Reserve was created. That was the moment that everything changed.
Yeah.
Um,
And what I love about what you're saying is like, a lot of people tie their identity to their work or their business and what they do for a living. And that's not who we are. That's
yeah,
kind of like this
no,
mask that we've taken on, but it's not who we
just
are
their
in our
being.
in our true essence,
That's right.
And what I love about COVID and the like quarantine is that a lot of people who lost their job or they even kept their job but had to stay home and work, I feel like it gave them the space to really look at their situations and who they are and what they've been doing and why are they doing it. So a lot of people are going through this like self inquiry of like, who am I really,
That's
you
right.
know? And so that's what we all need. I mean, that's part of the waking up process, right? Is not
Exactly.
tying yourself to your identity, And I feel
Exactly.
like what you're saying about our value is tied to that because, a lot of humans need to recognize their true value and it's not tied to their career or their job or their label.
Oh my God, we are so much more. We are so
Yeah.
much more. And we can start exploring that now. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whether we believe this is Nisar Jasara is happening or not, you know, as it rolls out, every single person is going to benefit unless you don't want it and reject it. And you know, but as it rolls out, you know, people will start getting used to the new systems and everything. And the one other thing I just want to say that is the most exciting thing I think. I mean, it's all exciting if
Mm-hmm.
you read the list. but but the most exciting thing is actually the last point on the list, and it's 6,000 repressed patents on advanced medical devices and modalities will be released.
Mm-hmm.
They've been kept down and suppressed purposefully. Cures for cancer, you know, like all of Nikola Tesla's work, Royal
Mm-hmm.
Raymond Rife's work, um, so many genius people who have developed free energy that have over hundreds of years, these inventions that have been suppressed so that the people would remain enslaved.
Mm-hmm.
Well, these are now going to start coming out and being available to people. Medicines, you know, it's so exciting. It's so
Yeah.
exciting.
That's awesome. I thank you for reminding me about that point. I'd forgotten that. And I just read that like Tesla, the company, not the man, is coming out with some battery for your car and you can drive across the country like 4 times before it runs out of power. And like this little thought came in when I read that of like, oh really? Are we gonna give credit to what's his name, the CEO of Tesla?
Oh, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk? Or has this been around for years and
Yeah,
now the patent is being released? You know what
right.
I mean? But
Yep.
he's the perfect person to like
Bring it through.
release it and
Hmm.
say it was his
Hmm.
invention. So I
Yeah,
could be totally wrong for the record. But that was just a thought, like a download that came in when I read that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's
yeah.
really fascinating.
Yeah, I've even heard that that all of the, you know, the chemtrails and the 5G towers, I've heard that all of them have been de-weaponized.
Wow.
Yeah, and that there is a level of optics that is necessary, you know, right now. Um, and so we might see trails in the sky, or we might
The
see,
light's changing on you.
yeah, the sun is setting. It's
It's
like
like it's like it's
through the
going from
palm
like
trees.
orange to gray or
Yeah.
something.
Um, so we might, you know, I know that people are really afraid of the 5G towers, and I've been protesting them for years. Here on Big Island, we just have them postponed until more research is done. So we're not going to have them installed here
Oh
right now.
wow. That's amazing.
Yet at the same time, from a couple of sources that I really trust, I've heard this information that they've been de-weaponized, and that they're actually going to be, now that the towers are installed, they're not going to be for 5G, but for Nikola Tesla technology, for Tesla coils.
Hmm.
And that we're going to an alternative energy, uh, you know, opportunity. And I'd love to believe that. You
Yeah.
know, like I want to throw my whole self into that narrative and like go, yeah, okay, great. You know, I believe it. Like, I really want to believe that. I really want
Yeah.
to believe it.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. And they said that, you know, if the 5G towers were weaponized and were turned on, people would be dropping dead in the street. And that's what happened in Wuhan in the beginning, right? And and that's not happening. And they're actually, with the Tesla coils, they will be emitting a 432 hertz, which is a harmonica in nature. So we're actually going to have this harmonic, this 432 hertz emanating, that will benefit nature, and
That
will,
would be
our
amazing.
cells will be able to regenerate quicker. Like we'll
Hmm.
have quick, like clearer telepathy with people. I mean, it's like,
Wow. Isn't that the
oh
love? Is that the love frequency or is it
yeah,
five
it's like a
17?
harmonic, yeah, a
Yeah.
harmonic of well-being.
Wow, that would be amazing. Well, let's hold that vision
Let's
to come
hold
to
it
come
strong.
through. Everyone hold that vision, okay?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's like, you know, we aren't, all of us here on the, you, Cherie, everybody watching, myself, we've lived a long enough life. We've seen so much pain. We've seen the spectrum of experience. We've gone through our mistakes and our fantasy worlds and our magical thinking. And we're all, I feel like many of us are hesitant to believe things that are too good to be true.
Hmm.
You know, that we have you know, bullshit meter up, we have our like I've been gullible and fooled so many times by spiritual teachers. I'm like, okay, like we'll see it. When I see it and I experience it, then I'll believe it. And I think that that discernment is wise, and I think that it's important to trust your own path, your own heart, your own mind. And you can only trust your own mind, heart, path if you are owning it and claiming it 100% and living it and walking it 100%, right? So until we unplug from the matrix, like all the toxic stuff that's bombarding us, and
Hmm.
just sit in our vertical alignment and get clear, become clear channels for our essence, our own essence,
Hmm.
then we will have clear discernment and know where, you know, where to invest our energy, and we can really direct our consciousness into the future we desire. um and I say that not just to say like it's okay to hesitate, because this all sounds very magical, and at the same time, if your filter is cluttered with fear, then even if it is truth, you could reject it,
Right. Yeah,
because
that's a good point.
yeah. And so the first step is for us to just turn inward and take
Hmm.
care of ourselves and become clear and do our meditation practice every day and tune into our higher self.
Right. And
So,
look at everything with fresh
everybody-
eyes.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's so easy to become skeptical and then just discount everything, you know.
Yeah, and harden ourselves. And then when the truth is right in front of us and there's this new device that cures cancer, no, it's not. I don't believe it.
Oh, Lord.
Like, no, really. It's a new world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're
So I
very wise.
can't remember if did we get to the question about what is the most important message for humanity right now that
I
you've
think
been
that,
getting through your channel?
yeah, what they've told me is that the most important personal work we can do right now is soul retrieval work.
Oh, wow. Okay. I don't think we touched on that yet. Okay.
Yeah, soul retrieval work because we're so fragmented.
That's really interesting because I've started a new healing modality and I've been doing a lot of sessions lately and soul retrieval has been coming in for almost every person.
Yep, that's
So
where it's at
that's
right now.
yeah, that's
Mhm.
really interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of fragmentation and I feel like with COVID and the media and everything and separation, we're being even more fragmented, you know?
they're trying. They're
Yeah.
trying to keep us interdivided because we're more
Mhm.
controllable, more apt to be ungrounded, and therefore you can induce anxiety states, paranoia states, suspicious. You know, it's like you can induce these
Mhm.
bandwidths of emotion within people if they're
Yeah.
fragmented and not congruent and aligned in their being, mind, body, spirit, right?
Right.
Um, and so the most potent work we can do right now is soul
Yeah.
retrieval work.
I know you just made me think of like all the times I go to the store and some person glares at me with that like suspicious energy.
Oh my God, isn't it weird?
It's so weird.
You
And like
say,
you feel it right away. It's like an arrow in your heart. It's like,
yeah,
do you have COVID? Do you have COVID?
I know. I
It's
just
awful.
smile through my mask. Come on.
I know. It's
You're
so weird.
beautiful. I love you.
Yeah, I
No,
usually just
no.
smile at them and send them energy of love. Like, it's all good. Don't worry.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. And that helps them to reconstitute themselves, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And love is it. Love is the healing balm. It's love,
Yes.
you know. It's like
Yes.
we emanate love and those fragments are come home because this is a source of love. This is a generator of love. Our minds, our hearts. We are a temple of love. We are the house of love. And these fragments live here. They need to live here. They need to come home and be in the family. This is our, you know, and and so you it's like to generate a field of love, and that's a daily meditation to generate it so strongly and to make so much space for those parts, so much allowance for their unique experiences, for the fear, grief, or shame that they carry. And it's like it's welcome. You are welcome. Bring it, bring it. You know, land it right here and let me hear it. Let me witness you. Let me love you in
Mm-hmm.
your releasing of it. And you're just reflecting to these different parts of yourself. You know, you are relevant. You are so valuable. You are relevant. Your needs matter, right? And that helps that you just integrate them in with that love.
Mm-hmm. That's so beautiful. I I pray that more people can hear that message and everyone who hears that message today really takes it to heart because that's exactly what we need right now. More love, self-love and love for others. Absolutely.
The most powerful force in the universe.
Yeah. So Maria, can you share a little bit about what you're offering? I know you have a lot of different things going on. You've got like a school and a support circle and a YouTube channel. So can you just share a little bit about what you're offering to people who may be interested in working with you and also where they can reach you?
Of course. What I would most like people to know about is our Ascension Support Circle.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gathering twice a month, first and third Wednesdays of the month. We're gathering at noon Pacific time, and this is because we have an international, community, and so we want to make it available for everybody. And so we gather and we do channeling. We bring through transmissions from the higher density helpers.
Mm-hmm.
We bring in our questions, and they hold us, they support us, they help to recalibrate us, they do treatments on us. And then the third Wednesday, we spend time doing Q&A and mentoring. So Dwayne and I will take questions, and this can be about any aspect of your life, of your spiritual growth, of your healing process, work in the world, what your relationships, anything. We are there just supporting people with wherever they're at.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's our monthly rhythm. And you can go to our website, which is Sacred Future, singular, future, sacredfuture.org.
Not futures.
Not futures. No, because you're not the only one. So many people.
I know. I'll put it in the chat room right now.
So sacredfuture.org. And you'll see that there's a number of places where you can find out more about our membership group, which is the Ascension Support Circle. And the other piece is our YouTube channel is Sacred Future. So Sacred Future, and I have the Wise Women Dialogues on Full Disclosure and Ascension.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had wonderful guests, including Laura Eisenhower and Dr. Melissa Joy and Helene Wabe, the science director at the Institute of Noetic Sciences, and many amazing people. And I'd love to have you on, Cheri, as
Oh, wow. Thank you. I would love to come on your show.
yeah.
That would be awesome. Yeah,
So,
thank you.
mhm. Yeah. Oh, and then my book, Planetary Ascension,
Right.
will probably be coming out in November. Believe it or not, my birthday is November 3rd.
Oh, wow. So you'll get a big birthday present this
I
year.
know. It's always been election day. It's just so
Oh
fun.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Um, and so, when did you start writing your book, and like
I
how was
started
it?
it before the lockdowns. Yeah. It all started downloading last summer.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading book 4 of The Law of One, and it was just like, boom, like this whole, and I just sat down and like, and started writing. And it was
Awesome.
so, it was so clear. I just had such a clarity, and it all
Mm-hmm.
started pouring out. Um, and then right when I was wanting to finalize it and offer it, the lockdowns happened. We were on our way, getting on a plane to fly to Amsterdam and then Italy. None of that happened. We ended up flying back home to Hawaii and been here ever since, you know. And
Good place to be, though.
yeah, and
Yeah.
meanwhile, all of the lockdowns just, Dwayne and I have just been spent just hours, hours every day on YouTube doing research, just researching like crazy, and it has really influenced um, my approach to the book. And I've rewritten a number of times, and the place where it's at now is just like I've given it to dear friends who are really in that disclosure community, and they're just like, this is so great, and I'm like, really, oh my god. So it feels like I need to get it out, because the revelation that I had when I read in the Law of One material, it
Mm-hmm.
just woke me up so powerfully. And it's like, I'm going to put this in a form that people, because the books are so dense, they are so hard to read, and I'm like, I have to get this message out with the channeling from the higher dimensional helpers and get it to people as soon as possible. So it's been almost a year now.
It's been on my to-do list to read those books. But maybe I'll just read your book instead.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
So I feel glad to be somebody that could be a little bit of an interpreter for that material, and it's so congruent with the channelings that have been coming through and other material from whistleblowers. So I'm really excited. And it's like, what's 80 pages? It's
Yeah, it looked like it was an easy read, so I'm really looking forward to reading it actually.
thank
So
you.
thank you for sharing it with me. And if you need, have you had it? Are you going to have it edited, or have
I
you
am
already done that?
having, an editor is going to be working with it for the next back and forth with me for the next probably month,
Okay.
and then we'll do the cover art, and then it'll eventually come out into the world in the fall. Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
wishing you so much success and luck with that process. I know you're like in the final stages of getting it out. So this is a good place to be. And I'm sure it'll do really well.
Yeah. It's not about me. I'm just somebody that said yes to being the transmitter of it. I think that it's probably coming through many, many people on the planet right now, because the information is timely. So
right, absolutely, yeah.
thank
Well,
you so much.
awesome. This has been so much fun. You see, it's been 2 hours
I
now.
can't believe it. It's crazy. How'd that happen?
I know, it just flies by. And of course, it flowed beautifully. So thank you for being open to staying 2 hours. And it was really lovely having you on the show. And again, everyone, if you want to reach Maria, the best place is sacredfuture.org.
Or
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, and kudos to you for completely going off social media. What was it, like a year ago?
I did. I went off Facebook. I was off Facebook, everything, for 8 months. For 8 months. And I just went back onto Facebook because I want to promote Planetary Ascension and a Planetary Ascension global meditation on October 24th. I'm trying to spread the word and get as many people meditating at 11:11 their time zone on October 24th as possible, for these, for the awakening of human consciousness and love.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you're back on, but just for a moment.
I am, yeah, and in a very focused way.
Focused way.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I forget I'm back on and I don't look for weeks.
Well, someone said something on our show last week, and I thought it was beautiful and perfect. She said, like Facebook doesn't control me, like I control it. So basically, she's just really
Yes,
focused on using it as a tool and not
exactly.
scrolling. Because when you scroll, that's when you get like sucked down the rabbit
Yeah,
hole, if you will.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
I
So
was
until we can find something better,
right.
people are still using it. Yeah.
Yeah. And 5G is being de-weaponized. I believe that all these social media platforms will be de-weaponized as well, and that eventually they will be for the people, by the people, for the highest good of all, and not so censored.
Yeah. And I heard there's a platform out there called Telegraph, which is supposed to be really good and more encrypted, more private, so less controlled in terms of the narrative. So you might
Nice.
want to check that out too.
Yeah, great. There's
Yeah.
a lot of them coming out right now.
Yeah.
Parlor. Yeah.
Yeah. Parlor was also one of the ones I heard. It was from the guy who was like the Google whistleblower.
Oh, right.
Seth,
That's
I think was his
right.
name. I can't remember his name. I'm
Yeah.
terrible with names.
Yeah. I know who you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, he worked on the YouTube team specifically. But
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
he rattled off a whole list of stuff that was really worth checking out. So,
Right. Cool.
yeah, so awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Are there any like last minute dying questions for Maria? If not, we'll let her go. Olivia says, "Thank you, Maria, for sharing your knowledge. And always thank you, Cheri, for having such wonderful guests. Blessings to you both." Aw, I miss you too, Olivia. Thank you for being here and thanks for your comments. And thank you, Dustin and John and Jeff and everybody else who came in. If I'm forgetting your name, please forgive me. If you like this interview, please share it with your friends, share it with somebody who you think needs to hear these words of wisdom that Maria shared tonight. And please like and subscribe to this channel. And please tune in. In 2 weeks, we'll have Jeff Demers and Vivian Chauvet on the show. They have a new podcast out called Infinite Star Connections, and which is already live on YouTube. You can go watch it. And Vivian channels Arcturian Collective, the Arcturian beings. And Jeff, of course, works with the Ponte in the mountains of New Mexico called, wow, I'm totally blanking. What are the mountains in New Mexico? the Sandia Mountains. There it is.
Oh.
Yeah, so the Ponte people reside in the Sandia Mountains, and that's his collective that he works with. So that's a really interesting show too.
Wow.
So we'll have them on in 2 weeks on the 24th. So please tune in for that as well. And you look so nice sitting there by your window in Hawaii. So enjoy your beautiful clean air.
I know, it's very clean. Yes. Yeah. I don't know.
Alrighty. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful evening out there, everyone in YouTube land, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Aloha.
Aloha. Bye-bye.